Ghost train. If my management sends me on another mission to some backwoods village, I'm gonna quit right away, because my heart can't take another nightmare like the one I had last time. I'll tell you everything in order. I work as a bakery equipment adjuster. I was once sent to repair bread machines in a village, and it is so far away that it is not easy to get to it. 3 hours we drove there with the driver in a company car. When we got there, the driver told me I'd be traveling back alone, by public transportation, and he had to leave immediately on campaign business. So he left. I'm at peace with it. Got the job done in a couple hours. Started getting ready to go home. I talked to a man, and he told me that I could take a commuter train. There's a train station not far away. Not far means a 6-kilometer walk from the village. I came to the platform, if you can call it that, almost ruined from time and covered with cracks. To the left is a forest. To the right, a field, rusty poles, a terrible bench made of 3 iron bars, no information boards or timetables, and not a single person. While I was walking here on some paths, I got very hungry, but there was nowhere to buy anything to eat. I was cold and tired. The weather was terrible. It was drizzling or raining or snowing, and there was nowhere to hide from it. I sat down on a bench, looked at my phone. No signal. So I couldn't look on the internet when the train would arrive. It was starting to get dark. There was a howl from the woods. I was already stiff and angry at the whole world, but suddenly I heard a locomotive horn in the distance. A train was approaching. When it came closer, I opened my mouth in surprise. It was as if it had come from the distant past. All rusty, narrow windshield, 1 lamp in the front. This ancient marvel came to a deafening halt with a deafening halt with a deafening rumble. I didn't have time to wonder how it could still drive. I had to get out of this place soon. I went in, but there was no one inside. I was used to the automatic and transparent doors and new seats on the trains. So I was very surprised to see old barn doors, shabby benches, and broken windows, and all of this in very dim lighting. It made me feel uncomfortable. I went on. There were people sitting in the car at the head of the train. 8 people. I finally calmed down. I went up and asked the man in the hat, "Dear, how do I buy a ticket? Will the controller come himself?" The man slowly turned his head as if it were hinge. He stared at me and didn't say a word. Some jerk, I thought, and went over to the fat ant and asked the same thing. She opened her mouth and stared at me without looking away. I cursed. Is everyone here crazy or what?" I decided not to worry about the ticket and sat down in the corner of the door. The sound of the wheels lulled me to sleep. Suddenly I jerked and woke up. Opposite me sat the same man in the hat and the fat ant and all the others who were in the carriage, and those who didn't fit on the bench were standing next to me. They all had their mouths open, and they all kept their eyes on me. I squirmed in my seat. "What do you want?" They were silent, their mouths open. Their teeth were black and rotten, even the little one, about 4 years old. That one was especially scary. I myself have a 5-year-old son, a lively, ruddy child, and this little beast was a superstitious horror. Suddenly, as if on cue, these strange people slowly turned their heads toward the opposite intercar door. A tall man in a railroad uniform with a bag over his shoulder walked in. Jesus! A conductor, at least one normal person. I rejoiced and jumped up from the bench. But the man in the hat, who was sitting across from me, grabbed my leg sharply. I seriously thought I had lost my mind. Could all this really be happening? The conductor walked over to me, mumbled something, and started picking at his bag. He didn't seem at all confused by the surroundings. Strange passengers with open mouths gathered around the frightened me. I couldn't take it anymore and mumbled, "This is some kind of joke, isn't it? A prank?" The conductor leaned sharply toward my face so that the tip of his nose rested against mine. I swear he didn't open his mouth, but I could clearly hear his voice. "You don't have a ticket. You're not supposed to be here, but you're still coming with us." The man reached down just as abruptly and jabbed his nose into my stomach, sucking in air noisily. Then I felt my heart run away from the horror. I even stopped breathing. The conductor sniffed me from my chest to the top of my head. "There's nothing inside. He's hungry. Then we'll be hungry too. Throw him out." The train came to a screeching halt. All the creepy passengers, led by the conductor, got up, grabbed me by my jacket, and dragged me toward the exit. I clutched my travel bag and prayed to all the gods. I was thrown out of the vestibule and fell into the loose snow. The train moved on, and in the dim, flickering windows, I saw the silhouettes of human skeletons. I looked back, completely unaware of where I was. I decided to walk slowly along the tracks, even though my legs were not obeying me at all. I was shaking, feverishly trying to understand. What was it? A hallucination, a delusion, a dream, and if I told anyone, they wouldn't believe me. I don't believe it myself. I don't know how long I walked like that, but I was lucky. I met a railroad track keeper. He even whistled when he saw me. "Man, what are you doing here? Where are you from?" And I stood there like an idiot, clutching my bag. "Nikolai." That's how the roadrunner introduced himself. He dragged me into the wagon, poured me a vodka. On an empty stomach, I got intoxicated quickly. "Well, tell me what you're doing here. Have you lost your memory?" I told Nikolai the whole story, but he wasn't surprised. "Holy shit, do you know that you were miraculously saved? It's a ghost train, isn't it?" I stared at him incomprehensibly. "There's a legend in our area. Allegedly, in the 50s, a train with people disappeared. But it's not a car, not a bicycle. The train couldn't go anywhere, but they didn't find it. It disappeared, and then rumors began to appear that the train was still running, picking up lonely passengers and leaving with them. I always thought it was a rumor, but my wife's relative, Dmitri, disappeared, and it happened in the 2000s, when the trains were more or less renewed. An acquaintance saw Dmitri from afar as he was getting into an old carriage. He was surprised to hear in the news that new electric trains had been launched. But here, some old stuff was riding, and that's it. I haven't heard from Dmitri since. God knows why you got lucky. But it's a miracle, isn't it? Why don't you go to church? I went to church. Thanked God. By the way, I've been looking for more information about this strange ghost train, but I didn't find out much, so I don't go to any more remote villages, even if they fire me, or only by car with normal, live escorts.